Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Crime drama this hour, Gerald Mohr starring as in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe from 73 years ago, May 23rd, 1950, The Fox's Tale. And we thank you for tuning in on this Tuesday, 23rd day of May, 143rd day of the year. We have 222 days remaining till we get to 2024. Mexico declared war on the United States in 1846. The first talking cartoon of Mickey Mouse, the Carnival Kid, released in 1929. American bank robbers Bonnie and Clyde ambushed by police on this date in 1934 and killed in Black Lake, Louisiana. Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS, committed suicide while in Allied custody in 1945. 1950, Prime Minister of Israel David Ben-Gurion announced that Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann had been captured. Rock band The Who released Tommy, the first rock opera, on this date in 1969. On Capitol Hill on this date in 1976, a secretary for Congressman Wayne Hayes of Ohio, a Democrat, claimed she was being paid to be his mistress. 27-year-old Elizabeth Ray told the Washington Post she couldn't type, file, or answer the phone. Congressman Hayes, who had divorced his wife of 38 years and married his veteran Ohio office secretary shortly before the story broke, replied to reporters.
Let me say that my family and I are deeply disturbed about this, and I'm very much concerned about its effect on my wife of 6 weeks, for whom I have a deep love and affection. And let me say categorically that Miss Ray was never hired for any other purpose than to work from 9 to 5.
Hayes would later admit to many of the allegations, except he would not admit that Ray was his mistress. He would resign from Congress September 1st of 1976. In 1984, President Reagan praised William Casey, his embattled CIA director, in an appearance with Casey a day after a House subcommittee report implicated the spy chief in the pirating of President Carter's briefing papers during the 1980 presidential campaign.
We found that over a dozen officials and aides in the Reagan-Bush campaign saw Carter briefing papers or actually used them, yet no one seems to know just how they got them. We do not find that believable. False statements to a congressional investigation are potential violations of federal law.
Michigan Democrat Congressman Donald Almosta. Casey would die of a brain tumor 3 years later, May 6, 1987, at the age of 74. U.S. engineer Thomas Patrick Cavanaugh sentenced to life in prison on this date in 1985 for attempting to sell stealth bomber secrets to the Soviet Union. Final first-run episode of Star Trek The Next Generation aired this week in 1994, the first syndicated series to ever be nominated for a Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Dramatic Series. The series received a number of accolades, 19 Emmys, 2 Hugos, 5 Saturn Awards, and a Peabody Award. In Oklahoma City on this date in 1995, what remained of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building was imploded. 1999, World Wrestling Entertainment superstar Owen Hart fell to his death during the pay-per-view Over the Edge at the Kemper Arena in Kansas City after a botched entrance stunt. He was supposed to rappel from the top of the, and that was a big building. And I have to tell you that it was a stupid stunt. It made no sense, but Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon. 2014, 7 people, including the perpetrator, killed and another 14 injured in a killing spree near the campus of the University of California, Santa Barbara. At least 46 people killed as a result of floods caused by tornadoes in Texas and Oklahoma. And in 2017, Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte declared martial law in the province of Mindanao following the Islamic terrorist group the Matis attack in Marawi. And that was just a horrible thing. The Philippines, a beautiful place, but Some places, like in the U.S., there are some places in the U.S. you just shouldn't go. Now, among those people who were passing away on this date in history, the very funny Moms Mabley. I loved her. Great lady. Actor Georgie Jessel, actor Sterling Hayden, pro wrestler Ray Candy, also Ann Mira of Stiller and Mira, actor Roger Moore, and another pro wrestler, Japanese wrestler Hana Kimura, who committed suicide, cyberbullying. She was very, very young. I think, 23, 22? Birth dates today include Douglas Fairbanks Jr., The Man Called X, Herbert Marshall, also actor-musician Scatman Crothers, Artie Shaw, fine clarinetist and band leader, Betty Garrett, Sid Melton. You remember him as Alf from Green Acres and Charlie on the Danny Thomas Show. Sid Melton, born on this date. Singer Helen O'Connell, singer Rosemary Clooney, and the inventor of the Moog synthesizer, Robert Moog. TV's Mrs. Barney Miller, Barbara Barry, 92 today. Joan Collins, 90 years old today. Kathy from Father Knows Best, Lauren Chapin. I think she is the last surviving member of the television cast, 78. The daughter of Dottie West, Red Hot and West by West, Shelley West, 65 today. Writer Mitch Albom, also 65, and the host currently of The Price is Right. Actor-comedian Drew Carey, 65. From Dumb and Dumber, MTV VJ, Karen Duffy, 61. Singer Jewel is 49. And the WWE's Bray Wyatt. Is he second or third generation? I know he's at least second generation. Wyndham Rotunda, 36. Those are just a few of the people celebrating the 23rd day of May as their birthday. If this is your birthday...
Hi, we're the Four Freshmen, and we just want to say, Happy birthday to you!
And from 73 years ago, May 23rd, 1950, Gerald Mohr, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, on this Tuesday, Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox here on your favorite radio station. Now on Tuesday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Gerald Mohr, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, 73 years ago, May 23rd, 1950.
Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gutter, the prison, or an early grave. There's no other end. They never learn.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Mohr starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's transcribed story, The Fox's Tales.
No. There are some times when the phone just never should have been invented. Hello, Marlowe speaking.
This is Orrin Metcalf. You remember me, don't you, Marlowe?
Oh, sure, Barrister. What can I do for you?
Meet me here at the Blue Chip Bar at once, Marlowe.
Huh? Look, I can hardly hear you. Speak up, will you, Orrin?
The Blue Chip Bar.
Yeah?
It's a miserable cafe on Melrose near La Brea.
Melrose near La Brea?
Yes. I'm in a booth, the last one on your right as you enter. But be careful, Phil. We can't afford to be seen. And please hurry. I'll pay you handsomely.
To do what, Orrin?
To impersonate a dead man.
The Blue Chip was an indelicate assortment of stale smells, surrounding pictures of lady Godiva, some without horses, and featuring low lights, lower clientele, and the lowest grade of bar whiskey. Against that backdrop, my new client stood out like a Dresden doll in a police lineup. Orrin Metcalf, in spite of the electricity in his voice, is only 5.5 feet tall, couldn't have weighed more than 130 pounds, including the glitter of honorary fraternity pins that dangled from his watch chain. He was maybe 50, bald, wore glasses halfway down a long nose, and at the moment was as nonchalant as a 5-inch firecracker with a sputtering fuse.
Quickly, Phil. Quickly. Sit down. Listen carefully.
It's going to be hard in here, but go ahead.
I am representing a man named Cuvion in a lawsuit. Rudolph Cuvion.
Yeah?
He's a manufacturing chemist. Hungarian born. At present, Phil, in a sanitarium. The nervous system will take just so much, you know.
Yeah, I know. And look, this Rudolph Cuvion is suing or being sued? Which?
He's suing. And nobody less than his former employer, the eminent Justin Shepard.
Justin Shepard. Well, he turns out cosmetics, doesn't he? Makeup, lipstick, that kind of stuff?
Yes, stuff, Marlowe, which includes a new and revolutionary nail polish that's worth a fortune.
Which was invented by your client and stolen from him by Justin Shepard, huh?
Exactly. We're suing for $250,000 in damages, Marlowe. But we'll settle out of court for $150,000 in cash.
Hello.
Not a cent less. Now, the trial, Phil, has, Oh, wait.
What? What's the matter?
What'll it be, Jones?
Oh.
Some brandy, please, and cognac.
Cognac? You're kidding, Pop. Like I said, what'll it be?
All right, Junior. 2 beers. Skip the chatter. We got to catch a train.
Okay. Be antisocial.
Yeah.
Right, couple, sir.
Isn't that awful? You were talking about the trial, Oren?
Oh, yes. Now, the whole point, Phil, is that every witness we had at the outset has so far either been bought off or frightened away by Shepard and his crew. With one exception.
You're racing the hole, huh?
Yes, a man named Max Redman. He worked with Rudolph Cuvion years ago in Chicago, when Cuvion first perfected the lacquer base, which makes the nail polish formula so valuable. Redman's testimony could have swung everything our way. And Justin Shepard found this out.
Wait a minute. What do you mean could have, Oren? Huh?
2 beers is ordered. 30 cents, gents.
Hey, we're even.
Thanks.
Now, Marlowe, the dead man I spoke of, and Max Redman are one and the same.
Shepard murderer?
They're worse. He drove Max Redman to suicide, Marlowe. The man shot himself an hour ago.
I don't follow that.
Well, Redman was staying here in L.A. with his wife. Now, I'll tell you the address in a moment. It's nearby. And although neither Shepard nor his cronies ever got to see Redman, they knew where he was and where he came from. With that, they went to work.
Blackmail?
Oh, yes. Years ago, Redman got in a jam. I have no idea what it was, something that he was conscience-stricken about, and Shepard uncovered it, then got through to Redman on the phone. He struck home.
His blackmail price was Redman's silence, huh?
Right you are. Shepard told him to get out of town, but when I talked to Redman an hour ago, he was positive that Shepard would demand more in the future. Redman was nearly hysterical, said he wished he'd never heard of me or Rudolph Cuvion. And then he hung up. Well, when I got to his apartment, I found him dead. Shot by his own hand. His pistol at his side. Oh, it was awful.
Yeah. Tell me, Oren, what about Redman's wife?
Well, her name is Louise. She's out of town right now. He was afraid for her and made her go away. At any rate, Phil, you see what I'm getting at, don't you? The reason I want you to work for me?
Yeah, I think so. Shepard and his buddies don't know Redman's killed himself, and if I give the impression by posing as Redman that he's still alive and not leaving town, Shepard will figure that his blackmail angle didn't work, huh? He'll get together with you and settle before tomorrow morning when Redman would have taken the witness stand.
Precisely, Phil. $150,000 settlement as against a court award of $250,000 means a saving of $100,000 to Shepard. He'll pay it, as long as he thinks Redman's still alive and willing to testify. Well, now, will you do it, Marlowe?
Poses Redman, huh?
There's $1,000 in it for him.
I don't know.
$1,000, Phil. And Rudolph Cuvion, helpless in the sanitarium, and Max Redman.
It's an awful lot to turn down, isn't it, Oren, huh?
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. Now then, here's the deal.
Oh, wait a minute. How about...
No questions. Every minute counts. Now, I've got Redman's top coat right here. Now, you put it on when you leave. And here are the keys to his apartment. It's the Garden Court Apartments on South Ogden.
South Ogden?
That's right. Now, you sneak inside. Then a minute later, very obviously, go out again. Get into his car. It's a new green Nash. Drive up into the Hollywood Hills along Lookout Road.
Why there?
Well, Redman drove up there a lot. Now, later, return to the apartment. You'll probably be followed as Redman always was. And the man will be big and muscular. And in a black coupe. Now, once they know that Redman... well, that's you, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Doesn't intend to leave town. There may be an attempt on your life. So watch your step. Getting killed as Redman destroys the illusion we're out to create.
That's not all it destroys.
Eh?
May destroy me. followed his outline. A minute after I drove Redmond's car out of his garage and conspicuously signaled a left turn with a plaid sleeve, I picked up my escort. His headlights stayed in my rearview mirror all the way along Sunset Boulevard and then up into the hills along Lookout Road. I drove slowly until I cleared a hairpin turn and spotted a flat open lot about 100 yards ahead and to my right. It overlooked the city below and was dotted with cement bags, piles of lumber, and bulldozers that had gone to bed hours ago. I swerved off the road sharply, cut my lights, and parked close to the edge of the cliff. Then I piled out of the car and quickly set up the oldest trick in the book. I took off the plaid coat, tossed it over a shoulder-high board jutting out of a lumber pile, topped it with my hat, and ran for cover behind the bulldozer. I got there just as the black coupe pulled in, cut its lights, and ground to a stop. Then I saw something big and beefy get out and start toward the coat, an ugly, snub-nosed gun in hand. I reached for my .38 and slowly moved through the ankle-deep weeds until I was only a few feet behind him. When he fired at the coat, I was only inches away.
What the...
Does that make it my turn? Don't try it.
You're not Redmond.
And not a lot of people. Drop your gun. Go on.
What are you going to do?
I'll ask the questions. What's your name?
Gaffney. Earl Gaffney.
Working for Justin Shepard?
No. I was just...
You're just a liar! That's nothing compared to what's in store for you.
No, quit. I work for Shepard, all right.
And you were tagging me, thinking I was Redmond, to see if I was going out of town.
Yeah. I had orders to knock you... knock Redmond off if he didn't go straight for the airport. That's all, honest. I don't know anymore.
Get up. Oh. Now walk over to that tool bin there. Open it and get in. Go on. Keep moving and keep your hands open. All right. Now I want to have a little chat with Justin Shepard. His home address, what is it?
He ain't got one. He stays at hotels. Right now it's the Beekman Plaza in Beverly Hills. Now quit, will you? That's all I know.
Sure. You see, Earl, I believe you. You've got such an honest face. For a killer. Sweet dreams, Buster.
Dozen gladiolas and 1 dozen golden iris. Yes. And deliver them here to the desk at the Beekman Plaza Hotel. No, it's not in Santa Monica. It's in Beverly Hills. It has been for years. Goodbye. Stupid people.
Yeah, they're just everywhere, aren't they?
Indeed. Oh, may I help you, sir?
Yes, I was looking for Mr. Justin Shepard. Is he in?
Oh, yes. And, sir, you could almost reach out and touch him.
No, really?
Yes, that's he over there, reading the paper in the Louis XIV chair.
The Louis XIV?
Mm-hmm. You see him? The short, round man to one side of that woman wearing that stunning taffeta.
That what?
Stunning taffeta. You see, it's applicated with those bright red roses.
Oh, yeah, couldn't miss him. Turn right at the stunning taffeta. Goodbye.
You're quite welcome, sir. Welcome indeed. Goodbye.
Mr. Shepard?
That's right.
My name is Philip Marlowe. I'm a private detective.
I know. I've heard of you.
Oh?
What's on your mind, Mr. Marlowe?
A chemist.
What about him? What does he have to do with me?
Earl Gaffney.
Who is Earl Gaffney?
A louse who missed, like the rest of them will. Max Redmond is still alive, and I intend to keep him that way. Good night, Mr. Shepard. See you in court. The effect was great. The fat man's mouth fell open and his chins jellied all over his chest. I let it go at that. The illusion was established. As far as Justin Shepard and company were concerned, Max Redmond was very much alive and kicking up the kind of trouble that they didn't want. But 20 minutes later, when I let myself into the dead man's apartment and walked into his bedroom, I knew the illusion was only an illusion. Max Redmond's body was sprawled at a crazy angle across the bed. I wondered what he could have possibly done to take this easy way out. I stopped wondering when the front door closed. It was a woman with the deepest brown eyes I'd ever seen.
What are you doing here? Who are you?
My name is Max Redmond.
You're lying. Where is Max? Tell me, where is he?
He's in the bedroom. You a friend of his?
I'm his wife, and I'm going to speak to him. Don't try to stop me.
I won't, Mrs. Redmond. Go ahead.
May 23rd, 1950, Gerald Mohr, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. The news from 73 years ago today follows these messages from your favorite radio station. Just going to take a minute here to tell you about the big savings going on now, the clearance sale at mypillow.com. And you know, I've talked about how in my office I have a pair of my slippers, and they're really comfortable, and they're on clearance right now. The mypillow.com slippers, $25 a pair, limit 10. And I would buy 3 or 4 more pairs. Unfortunately, they're out of my size. They also have sheets, pillowcases, clothing items, all on special right now. Go to mypillow.com, click on the clearance tab at the top of the page, use my promo code Wyatt, or call 1-800-928-4715. Limited sizes remaining in the MyPillow slippers, limited colors on other items. mypillow.com, clearance tab, promo code Wyatt, 1-800-928-4715. Thanks for spending part of your Tuesday with us here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We're listening to an episode of The Adventures of Philip Marlowe starring Gerald Mohr, as it was broadcast Tuesday, May 23rd, 1950, in the newspapers of that Tuesday 73 years ago. These were some of the headlines. The SEALs were ripped off the investigation record of the hotly disputed Amerasia case of 1945 in Congress yesterday. It came amid disputed talk of a cover-up in the case, which prompted Congressman Brown, the Republican of Ohio, to declare that there were House rumors that the fix has been put in again. Brown spoke out after Republican Congressman Hobbs, the Democrat of Alabama, told the House he believes there was a connection between the now-defunct Amerasia magazine and Russia. Hobbs made public the long-secret record of a 1946 House investigation into the Amerasia episode, including testimony by a naval intelligence officer that Naval Lieutenant Andrew Roth, one of the principals arrested in the Amerasia case and later cleared, was suspected or alleged to be a fellow traveler, but Roth was commissioned in spite of that. Testimony that documents found cached in Amerasia's magazine headquarters in New York included secrets from British intelligence, U.S. naval intelligence, the State Department, and other government sources. United Nations Secretary General Trinh Lee has laid before the leaders of the Big Four a 10-point program for ending the Cold War, according to diplomatic sources. The 10 points lay the basis for Lee's plan for a 20-year program of peace, which he outlined in a speech at Washington several weeks ago. Informed sources said the 10-point aid memoir, which Lee gave to President Truman, British Prime Minister Clement Attlee, French Premier Georges Bidault, and Russian Premier Joseph Stalin, was one of several formal diplomatic notes the Norwegian leader of the World Organization left behind him on his 3-week pilgrimage of peace, which has taken him to Washington and Moscow and Paris. Details of the 10-point program could not be immediately learned. 2 of President Truman's government reorganization plans survived attacks in the Senate yesterday. The senators first rejected a resolution to kill a projected reorganization of the Federal Trade Commission, then a similar effort to kill a plan affecting the Federal Power Commission. The first attempt fell 15 votes short of the 49 needed for rejection, the second 12 votes. Senator Edwin C. Johnson, the Democrat of Colorado, sponsored both resolutions of disapproval. Senator Robert A. Taft, Republican of Ohio, discounted any national significance in liberal Republican victories in 2 Senate primaries last week. The nominations of Senator Wayne E. Morse, the Republican of Oregon, and Governor James Duff, the Republican of Pennsylvania, have been heralded in subquarters as a sign of a liberal swing in the GOP. Columnist Drew Pearson demanded $500,000 damages in a libel suit filed in U.S. District Court yesterday against the Detroit Times division of the Hearst Publishing Company. Pearson claims he was libeled in a column by Westbrook Pegler on May 23, 1949, in which Pegler said Pearson evaded service in World War I. And those some of the day's top news stories as reported in the newspapers of Tuesday, May 23, 1950. On your radio 73 years ago, Gerald Mohr in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. We'll hear the conclusion following these messages. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station. Agnes Moorehead on Wednesday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, an episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrill suspense. May 24th, 1954, 69 years ago, weekend special, Death. Agnes has another tangle with a telephone operator when she finds herself trapped in a supermarket with two safecrackers. That's coming up on Wednesday's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. But now the conclusion of The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, May 23rd, 1950, 73 years ago today.
Now with our star, Gerald Mohr, the second act of Philip Marlowe, and tonight's story, The Fox's Tale.
Louise Redmond's dark, troubled eyes stared at the bedroom door for an instant. Then she darted past me and inside. When she saw him, she froze, her eyes on the gun at the dead man's side. One hand trembled toward her mouth. Hang out of yourself, baby.
Oh, Max. Max, why did you do it? Why?
Your husband had proof that a fat buzzard named Justin Shepard swindled a fortune from Rudolph Kuvian, an old friend of his. Max was going to offer that proof tomorrow morning in court.
He wouldn't kill himself because of that.
Well, there must have been something in his past that he couldn't live with any longer.
What?
Do you know what it was, Louise?
I don't believe any of this. You were in here posing as Max. You're responsible for his death, but you won't get away
Louise,
with it.
give me that gun.
Let me go.
Little fool, let go. I said let go. That's better. You're smart enough to give in fast anyway. Now sit down over there and listen.
Who are you? Why are you here?
I'm Philip Marlowe, hired by Orrin Metcalf. You know him?
Yes.
He found Max like that. He couldn't let Shepard know that the case against him was dead, so he hired me to keep up the illusion that Max was still alive, that nothing was wrong. Metcalf is sure that Shepard will crack before morning. But we'll need your cooperation, Louise. How about it, huh?
When you took that gun away from me, you smashed my only picture of Max. You couldn't even leave me that intact.
I'm sorry. I know it's going to be tough on you, baby, but... Hey, wait a minute. Louise, did Max write that on the picture there?
Yes. To my Louise. With love.
Louise, listen to me now. This backhand script. Was Max left-handed?
Yes, but what is that?
He was shot in the right temple.
You mean that someone killed him?
That's the general idea, yeah.
Justin Shepard. The man Max intended to testify against.
No, not unless he's a lot slicker than I think. But he has an assistant, a tough one named Gaffney, who was watching this place when I took over. If he did it, then followed me, he wouldn't have had a chance to report to his boss.
I don't understand. Followed you where?
Oh, to that lot on Lookout Road where Max liked to go. I caught Gaffney there and filed him away in a tool bin. I better go and have another chat with that boy right now. You wait here.
Here?
Now, look, baby, we can't quit. You've got to finish the job Max started for his old friend Kuvian, and better than that, maybe we can get Max's killer, too. Are you game?
I'll do as you say.
As I went out to Redmond's car, several things bothered me. And not the least of them were Louise Redmond's dark, deep eyes. When I got in the car, I felt the pistol that had killed Max. It was in my pocket where I dropped it after I'd taken it away from the girl. I pulled it out and looked at it. It was a Belgian Browning 765 automatic. I I broke it apart, and then, on a hunch, I slipped it back together, got out of the car again, and took the gun up to Louise.
I don't know much about guns, Marlowe.
All you may have to do is point it, Louise. The threat will probably be enough. In case it isn't, that's the safety catch there on the side. I'll be back as soon as I can. When I pulled out onto the vacant hilltop lot, I scented the tool bin in the headlights. I was out of the car and wading through the foot-high foxtail grass before I noticed that the stick I'd shoved through the hasp was now on the ground. I ran the rest of the way and jerked the lid open. Gaffney was gone. I started to close the lid, but stopped at something in the bottom of the bin. I'd have liked a coiled rattlesnake better. It was a glistening, sticky puddle, and it was blood. The scream had come from a hollow beside the lot. I ran toward it. Saw two kids in a parked car, scared stiff and staring into a tangle of brush in front of them.
Mister, there's a man down there. He's hurt, bad.
Where? Show me.
In that brush. We both saw him. He stood up just a second ago, and he started toward us. There was blood all over him. And then he fell down again.
Okay, get your girl out of here. Get back to your car.
Okay, mister. Oh, hey, holy cats. You're Philip Marlowe, the detective.
Yeah.
I've seen your picture lots of times.
All right, be a good fan and stay out of the way. The guy's dangerous. Go on.
Yeah, okay. Come on, buddy.
Gaffney. Who did it, Gaffney?
It's afraid.
Yeah?
I knew I'd spill and...
Who, Gaffney? Who knew? Who? Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Marlowe. Hey, Mr. Marlowe. Did you find him, Mr. Marlowe?
Yeah, I found him, son. He's dead.
Holy cats.
Now, look, do me a favor, will you? Get to a phone, report this to the police.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Tell them I'll get in touch with them as soon as I can.
Okay. Sure, Mr. Marlowe. Yeah, right away.
My next stop had to be Justin Shepard's hotel. And now I had more to go on and a couple of hints from left field. Just as I pulled up in front, I saw Shepard behind 16 cylinders of imported limousine, swinging away from the curb. He seemed in no particular hurry, so I tailed him far enough to realize that he could be heading for Max Redmond's apartment. Then I took off through the side streets, wide open. I got back to the apartment in time to brace Louise for Shepard's visit.
But, Marlowe, what can I do? Maybe I'd better...
Maybe you better let him in. Go ahead.
Yes?
Stand aside, young woman. I'm coming in.
Please do, Shepard.
What? You again.
Nice of you to drop in. What have you got in the bag, lunch?
Don't be facetious. And don't worry, it's all here. I know when I'm beaten. I suppose it would be quite pointless to ask where Redmond himself is.
Completely pointless at this late date.
Very well. Then I assume I'm to leave this with you.
That's right.
It had better be right, my boy. Believe me. Good night.
Just a minute. How come you're running your own errands?
You took care of that yourself earlier tonight. You're a competent man. You should be working for me.
Working for you has its drawbacks, Shepard. But you muffed it. Gaffney didn't die right away.
Gaffney's dead?
Marlowe, be careful.
Yeah, he lived long enough to tell me he was framed, Shepard. By you.
When you can prove that, I'll be at my hotel. But I advise you not to push your luck.
Marlowe, you let him walk out.
Yeah, the guy was right, baby. So far, we've got no proof of any of it. Except this bag. And whatever is...
Money. Why, it's filled with bundles of bills.
Big ones. At least $100,000. Holy smoke. Excuse me, will you?
Who are you calling?
Somebody will be very interested in this. You just wait and see.
Metcalf speaking.
Oren, this is Marlowe. I'm at the Redmond place, and get this. Justin Shepard walked in here, dumped $100,000 on the table, and left again. Not a half minute ago.
At Redmond's?
Yeah.
Why, it's a bribe. We've got him, Phil. We've got him. Don't touch it. I'll be right there.
Now, wait a minute. There's more.
Go on.
Louise Redmond came back.
Louise? In the middle of this mess?
Yeah, she's here now.
Oh, must have been rough on her to find Max.
Worse than you think. Because that's still not all.
What do you mean?
That you can bet your briefcase on the fact that Max didn't kill himself in the first place. He was murdered.
Sit tight, Phil. I'll be right there.
Come on in, Oren.
The money, Marlowe. Where is it?
In the bag there on the table.
Yes. Excellent. Iron-bound evidence. Best in the world. We'll have this impounded right away, and... Oh, Mrs. Redmond, I can't tell you how sorry I am, my dear.
Thank you, Mr. Metcalf. But I'm grateful to you and to Mr. Marlowe here that Max's death wasn't entirely without purpose, at least.
What about that, Phil? Can we prove he was murdered?
Well, the bullet entered his right temple, but he was left-handed. That's about all we got.
Simple as that. And yet it went by me completely.
I doubt we can stick anybody for it.
Why not?
Well, because his killer may be already...
Already what, Phil?
Oh, already dead.
Another killing? Well, what are you talking about, man?
One Earl Gaffney, Shepard's gentle assistant.
What?
I locked him in a tool bin, but somebody found him there and shot him. To keep him quiet.
Justin Shepard himself. Surely. Now, look. If we can't get him for Max, we'll nail him for Gaffney.
Don't count on it.
Listen, we've got that fat lizard right where we want him. Now, first
of all, it won't fit, Oren.
Why not?
If Shepard sent Gaffney to get Max, then killed Gaffney, why did he bring all this dough here? To bribe a dead man?
Well, yes, you're making sense, Phil.
I knew you'd see it.
Go on.
Okay, try this for size. Max Redmond never intended to testify in court. He wasn't after a legal settlement because then the money would go past him to Rudolph Kuvian. This bribe here is all Max was after. But somebody was in it with him.
You're crazy. How dare you say that?
She's right, Marlowe. Now you're talking like a fool.
Am I? Max, no doubt, got into a beef with his partner over the split of the bribe and was shot. That's a guess, Soren, but this isn't. Gaffney got it because Max's killer couldn't figure how much Gaffney had heard and seen in here. He couldn't take a chance, you see? But whoever killed Gaffney had to wade through the same weeds I did in that vacant lot to get to him. And most of the weeds up there are foxtail grass. You know the kind that comes off on your clothes, that sticks in your socks like little darts. That's right, Oren. Take a look. Your argyles are loaded with the stuff.
I don't have to look. You're a bright boy, Phil.
Thanks.
It went just as you outlined it. Up to this point. I'm sorry you got so much of it right, because you can't think of everything.
You might be surprised. Don't reach for your gun, Oren. I'll drop you. It was a filthy scheme. Come on, hand it over. Your gun.
Why, surely. Here you are.
Now you drop it, Marlowe. Go on.
Well, the heartbroken little wife.
With the very same gun you so generously gave me.
That's what I meant, Marlowe. You can't think of everything. Louise and I are going away tonight together, and we're taking that money with us.
Stand still, Marlowe. I know more about guns than I pretended.
Sure you do, sure. I had a hunch about you early tonight, baby. Your homecoming was too pat, and you know what? You didn't bring back so much as an overnight bag. And what's more, when I took that gun away from you, you practically handed it to me. You were acting all the way.
I'm not now. I'll kill you, Marlowe.
Louise, shoot him! Shoot! Shoot!
I can't! Shoot! The gun, Oren! It won't fire!
Oh, fooling. I took one of the parts out before I gave it back to you, sweetheart. You couldn't make that go off with a blow.
Oren, help me!
That's right, Oren. Help the lady.
Oren.
Believe me, sister, you'd get the same thing right now, but for one good reason. I'm going to need you intact in that court tomorrow morning. By the time the police showed up, Oren Metcalf, dynamic barrister, and Louise Redmond, beautiful dreamer, were already coming apart at the seams. 2 hours later, when I finally got away from it, they were still screaming hysterical insults at each other. Now, before I went home, I stopped by the sanitarium just long enough to shake hands with Rudolph Kuvian, who turned out to be a nice, quiet, thoughtful old guy. And I assured him of a fair shake that was long overdue. I guess it made him happy. It was hard to tell. Because the look on his face said that maybe the real price in things other than money had been much too high. Well, that's the way it is with some characters. They're human.
Adventures of Philip Marlowe, bringing you Raymond Chandler's most famous character, star Gerald Mohr, are produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and are written for radio by Robert Mitchell and Gene Levitt. Featured in tonight's transcribed cast were Howard McNear, Lou Krugman, Rick Vallon, Parley Bear, Georgia Ellis, and Hugh Thomas. The special music is composed and conducted by Richard Orant. You can save for your future today the United States Savings Bond way. Savings bonds are one of the surest, safest investments you can make because they're backed by Uncle Sam himself. You are sure of getting back $4 for every $3 you invest when the bonds mature in just 10 years. Safe because even if the bonds are lost, destroyed, or stolen, your government will replace them at no charge. And bonds are simple and convenient to buy. Ask your employer to set aside an amount of money from your pay, the amount you decide on. Automatically, systematically, you'll purchase savings bonds. If you're self-employed, have your bank purchase a bond a month for you regularly. Save for your independence. Buy United States savings bonds.
May 23rd, 1950, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for making us a part of your day. Please thank this station, support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allow us to be with you each and every time you roll around. Miss a day, you don't have to miss a show. You can always find our shows on demand at classicradio.stream. Stream our shows. You can learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. I've got a list up there of number of places that have our podcasts available for download. You can also find our social media links, and if you'd like to help support our show, you can buy me a coffee. That buy me a coffee money helps us acquire additional classic radio collections and helps us maintain our distribution channels. That's at classicradio.stream, classicradio.stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tell all your friends the greatest radio shows of all time are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.